Roland, can I borrow you for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you very much.
Thought I'd escaped. But...
Oh no, sadly nobody escapes from the Jerry Anderson podcast or the Randomiser, I'm afraid. Have you heard of this remarkable machine?
It is an amazing machine.
It is, isn't it? You know what it does?
Is it something to do with episodes?
It is something to do with episodes, yes. You press that button there.
Right.
In a moment, it will tell us what episode I'm watching and commenting on this week.
Great.
So all I need is your finger, that button.
Could it be EastEnders or something? Or
It could be, but it's unlikely. Stranger things have happened. And here we go, almost there. Oh, well, that's quite an interesting choice for this week. We have The Tracking of Masterspy. It's from Supercar.
Supercar?
Yes.
Ah.
So you go off and find out more about Supercar.
Okay.
And I'll stay here and watch
Enjoy.
The Tracking of Masterspy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, it's time we welcome back to the Randomiser. It's Supercar, and we open with a very nice, quite long, also I suspect revealing of the fact that this episode may have been underrunning, sequence of Mike Mercury flying Supercar all over the place. A lot of stock footage here. We know that's from the opening titles. We saw that just 30 seconds ago, in fact. So, yeah, as I said, I suspect this is padding for an episode that may have been underrunning. In fact, I think there's a second sequence like this later in the episode, but there's something still very nice and very, very pure and wholesome about watching Supercar flying and at times wobbling its way around back-projected sky, accompanied by this glorious Barry Gray music. It's just the sensation, the freedom of flight that comes with this. Again, you know, we are now basically playing out the opening titles again, but I suppose kids in the 60s seeing this once a week would have loved a little sequence like that, and to be fair, I still enjoy that sequence quite a lot too. So, now we're going to start the episode proper, I guess.
That hot engine always warms up slowly when there's humidity in the atmosphere.
And we're back to an old Supercar standby, technical chattering.
Running smoothly now.
And fretting.
We're letting the press boys know about it.
What do you mean?
Why, the
Oh,
Great
yes.
News Agency. You've contacted them, haven't you?
There's a slight development at foot here.
I said nothing to anyone.
In fact, I've never spoken to anybody outside of this laboratory, Mike. I'm so lonely.
Top secret.
Well, when I was in town ordering supplies, some guy came up and started asking questions. Knew who I was and
I
thought
wonder
you
who
was
that could
Supercar,
be.
too. I
Yes.
reckoned you must have told the press.
And this is at that period in the show's history when Supercar was top secret. By the end of the series, they are the world-famous Supercar team, which, you know, it's fine. I don't find that as big a leap as I do the way International Rescue is presented in Thunderbird 6, you know, top secret all the way through Thunderbirds, and then that final film, it's just like, nah, anybody can know who we are, it's fine.
But naturally it was clever. You expect Masterspy to play the fool? Do you? No.
Oh, I was expecting a sort of, oh well, Masterspy, you have been known to once or twice. Lovely bow tie on Masterspy there, and again, I like that they operate out of an office. I'm not sure if it was a consistent office, but they did like their skyscraper offices.
Masterspy.
Ah,
So,
they found
a place of extreme
the
isolation.
Supercar laboratory,
That is to our advantage.
despite the fact that they've already been there.
Visitors,
I think regardless of what episode order you watch these in, whether production or broadcast, yes, they knew where the Supercar labs were right from the start of the show.
Anyway, the next move's up to him in any case.
But the Supercar team had decided, doesn't matter if someone was asking questions, it's fine, what's going to
What
happen?
do you want to look at, Jimmy?
Well, Dr. Beaker was doing something earlier this morning, but he was too busy to show me.
Yeah, he usually is.
Well, do you think you deserve a look at this mystery object, Jimmy?
Thing of it,
I don't think you deserve much of anything, Jimmy. Oh, but of course Beaker has got his proper sidekick, Mitch the monkey, in there. Always useful to have a monkey around
Speaker.
Me too.
in a highly
Hooked up.
dangerous, technical environment as this. Beaker has invented a black box with a rotating thing on it, because they were needing one.
Well, what is it, Dr. Beaker?
I think it'd be rather too difficult to explain to the non-scientist. Roughly speaking, however, the hub of the matter is in this small black box.
Ah, oh,
Well, It's hardly out of the design stage, of course.
Yes, going back to production versus broadcast order for this episode, I think it's quite relevant. I think this was produced halfway through the show's first season, it's like episode 13 or something, and broadcast quite near the end. Either episode 25 or 26 of the first season. And it's an episode I've always enjoyed. It feels kind of like either a mid-season sort of finale in essence, or a proper season finale. It does feel like a slightly more epic adventure for the Supercar team than they would often have, even though really it only takes place in 2 different rooms.
Audible warning is given from the speaker up there. There, you see? And well, that's really very nearly all there is to
So
it.
the box of bits is making a beeping noise.
You get some sort of reasonable balance on the amplifier here. I could.
Yes, this is, again, early Beaker was sometimes quite, he had occasionally could go a bit non-responsive when it came to the other members of the Supercar team. I kind of like the more personable Beaker that sort of emerged soon after this.
Mike, you mean 'cause of that man you talked to? Then you're all worried about him. Just like the professor is.
Well, let's not say worried. Let's just say that there's no use taking unnecessary chances. All this stuff ought to be locked
Especially
up
as you
anyway.
can see the light coming in through the back of my head, through my mouth. Again, Masterspy, as always, got a truck on hand. No matter the fact that his last truck got blown up at the end of his previous appearance.
More stuff lying around than you ever dreamed was possible.
I have no doubt.
So this is just like, from their point of view, this is just a day in the life of the Supercar team, just hanging around the lab, complaining about Beaker and that there's going to be more stuff hanging about the place.
Well, I suppose Jimmy can take them downstairs and put them in the safe. Think you can
I suppose
manage that,
that's
Jim?
within the limits of his capabilities. I'm not holding out much hope, but I think he can just about manage that.
He's a nice kid, that Jimmy. Always ready to help.
Why won't he leave us alone, though? And this is some nice non-Barry Gray library music here. I think this is Edwin Astley stuff. And a rare sequence there of a puppet walking through a doorway. I presume there is no, obviously there is no roof on that doorway.
Doing here?
I have come to finish our discussion about...
But this comes back to something that I've mentioned with this show previously. I love the fact that the Supercar team and Masterspy and Zarin each have each other's home addresses, and they can just pop in for a chat whenever they feel like it. It's so casual. You know, imagine if this was like Thunderbirds. Okay, I think the Hood knew where Tracy Island was, but if it was just, if he happened to turn up on the island, it would be like, oh, what are you doing here? Same with Terrahawks. Zelda, what are you doing here? It's all just so casual. Anyway, Masterspy is here to, well, to capture whatever he can get his hands on, but more importantly,
That is right, my
he's going to flood the place with fuel. And it is quite, actually, for once, it presents Masterspy as quite a credible threat.
Do not move.
Despite the fact he is largely a comical figure, here he is like, this is almost Captain Black stuff.
It'll go up like a volcano.
We have petrol all over the floor, and we have Masterspy with a lighter.
Mercury. If you do not...
To be honest, there's a part of me that is surprised this sort of made it to screen in 1960, because I don't think you'd get away with this on a kid's show today. But then I suppose in 1960 they were like, you know, less concerned with such things.
Positively paddling in aviation spirit.
There was a beautiful bit of puppetry on Masterspy there, where he threw his entire body back.
Guys, I have work to do. And for goodness
And of
sake,
course Beaker is totally oblivious to all of this.
leak somewhere. Professor! Professor!
All right, Dr. Baker, everything will be all right soon. We have Master Spy with us.
Good heavens! Master Spy!
Yes, it takes him a moment to register it. That is going to be a plot point shortly.
Got work to do with your
But
excuse.
again, in any other episode, it could be just, you know, he is that short-sighted and that oblivious to the world going on around him.
You've heard that question before.
I also love that bit of Master Spy music, which again, I don't think is Barry Gray, but it's just that boom, boom, boom. It does so much for the character.
Explain to you now. My work is vital to the functioning of Supercar.
Masterspy is actually standing in the petrol there.
Mr. Beaker,
That's probably not going to be good for his nice shoes.
that you are handling now?
This is part of the flight control system. It's something quite new.
There's something so surreal about the way Masterspy can just stroll in. And it's not the first time he's been here, because he was it Dr. Metternich he disguised himself as?
Oh,
This is, of course, the reporter that Mike was talking about earlier, so it doesn't say much for Mike's intelligence either that Masterspy walked up to him, no doubt wearing another of his fabulous disguises,
Sometimes I think Beaker is just not with us.
and Mike just didn't twig.
thank you.
So he's basically talked Masterspy into taking this super important black box that he's invented.
I am sorry, but I have to leave you now. I shall take your case
Oh, I've still got to get these plans to the safe.
down.
Oh. Yes, he wants the plans as well.
Trouble you for that box.
But a lot of this library music that I've mentioned turned up in black and white episodes of Danger Man and The Saint, probably other shows around the same time.
Yes, we are. Mike, you know just as well as I do that it would only take a second to drop that lighter and send the whole place up. We can't risk it.
It is quite a dangerous setup.
Professor.
So Masterspy's got a box, he's got some plans.
Following me.
Oh, and he's got a big spanner thingy to smash the equipment on the desk. Oh, luckily they have fire extinguishers. And Mitch.
Okay for the moment. Main current off, Professor?
Yes?
And nobody hurt, right?
I'm okay, Mike. So's Mitch.
Well, thank God for that, Jimmy. I was worried. I was concerned about the monkey.
Surely aren't going to let that ruffian get away.
Again, I like the way, the tone of the thing when we come back from the advert break is, you know, the fire has been dealt with, but let's still be as safe as we can here.
Oh, great. Fine help he is. Hands over a bonus free of charge, and now he says it doesn't matter much.
Stop worrying, Mike. The important thing to find out is how much damage has been done to the equipment.
Sure thing, Professor. Also,
Yes, it's an odd episode in which Masterspy strolls into the base. Bearing in mind all he ever wants is Supercar. He strolls right in. He basically has the Supercar team where he wants them. He could have said, hand over Supercar, or, you know, I'll set Jimmy on fire. He could have got away with it there, but instead he's like, no, give me that box and those plans.
He's already got too much of a head start on us.
He's a great one for anything new, is Masterspy.
Able to find him?
Supercar is last week's news by now.
What are we gonna do then?
I don't know. I suppose we'll have to call in the police.
Ooh.
What do you think, Professor?
I suppose so. But I don't want to. I don't want to have everyone know all about Supercar. And
At
if we
least
don't
not
have the
until
police
Series
be
2,
involved,
Mike.
it's real ones this time.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But I don't see what else we can do.
Oh, there's that laser sound effect that's been turning up all through these Super Mario Nation shows.
Hey, Dr. B.
Going back to Torchy, I think, I first sort of recognise it from the Spectrum Mistron rifle, but it turns up all over.
I'm afraid I was perhaps guilty of a small deception. The apparatus...
I said that I liked Jimmy and enjoyed his presence. That was a grave deception on my part. But an understandable one, I think you can agree.
direction-finding apparatus.
Right, so Beaker somehow got it into his head that Masterspy would turn up at the laboratory that exact day. Or doesn't he mention
You mean to say, Dr.
that he
B,
makes
that
it,
guy
he
is
made it
picking
to
up
help
some
track
sort of
down
radio transmitter?
stray monkeys?
And you can tell what direction he's gone?
But now Masterspy's got the transmitter.
You see, that box gives out a signal at intervals which, if conditions are right, I can... Yes, you see, I can distinctly pick up the transmitted signal.
It's like a sort of portable radio beacon.
Precisely.
Wow.
Exactly. A small radio beacon.
And again, for 1960, this is probably high-tech stuff to us now. Even, you know, within a few years, this kind of stuff would be quite tame in Thunderbirds, let alone to us now, you know, more than 60 years later.
Hey, how long does that gizmo keep transmitting for?
Well, I'm not sure. Weeks, I should think. Unless he starts to tamper with it.
Well, then what are we waiting for? Professor,
So,
how soon will Supercar be
it's
ready for
all
takeoff?
systems go to get after Masterspy in his truck.
Well, I don't know, Mike. I don't know how good the temporary circuits we've rigged up are. We ought to test it.
Well, that'll kill some time. This is Supercar, we love testing things.
Dr. Beaker, you keep that thing...
Especially if we can get some extra fretting in there as well.
My best.
Fine, then the rest of us can get to work and patch up Supercar.
That means you, Jimmy.
That Mr. Masterspy is in for a shock.
Masterspy is so proud of himself. I don't quite get what he feels he's accomplished. What was his ultimate goal? Why did he go to the lab in the first place? He got there, saw the new box, thought, ooh, new shiny thing, and made off with it. He could have had Supercar. He could have had Jimmy, but alas.
Transferred to Supercar.
How's it coming, Professor?
Nearly ready for trial, Mike. I'm not very happy about it, but no doubt you're impatient.
I sure am, Professor. I want to get after that guy as fast as I can.
Well, Mike, I would love to do some fretting, but yes, the situation is desperate, I suppose.
In the morning, Mike, it could be risky flying at night.
I know it. But I gotta get to Masterspy before he starts investigating that box and finds out what it is.
What are you
Yeah,
planning on
because
doing,
if he
Mike?
finds out that you know where he is,
I'll have to figure out the details when I
he
find
might
it.
move.
One thing's
Can't
for
have
sure, I
that.
won't have let that box out of his sight. When I find the box, I find him.
All right, Mike, I'll leave it to you.
It's so... Obviously, it's a very simplistic show.
Most of the switch gears
In terms of its production, not necessarily at this stage in the storytelling, but the hero v villain side of the stories is still quite primitive. I think, as I said, I just love with this episode how casually everyone strolls into each other's bases.
Just as you like, Mike.
But nevertheless, you know, there is just something very sweet about it all.
13,000.
And Supercar is a show that I'm very fond of without necessarily being a huge fan of, if that makes sense.
Hold it, Mike.
You know, I love the show, I love the characters. It's not one that I would necessarily put on to watch every,
Switch her off almost as
well,
soon as she catches
more
light.
than
Quick as you can, then, Mike.
You know,
we shall have to have another session.
every few
Fire
years.
extinguishers.
Roger, Professor. Just coming up.
And while I've said all that, we're still fretting.
15,000.
We're still doing countdown, we're still doing tech stuff. Here we go.
Okay, starboard lit. Switching off now.
Okay, we're going to do the other side now.
You'd better come out of there and give me a hand. We'll need to rewire the first stage of the console with heavier cables.
Oh, okay, it didn't work. Right, that whole thing was,
Roger, Professor. I'll be with you in a minute. Meanwhile, Dr.
Bit of a
Beaker
cul-de-sac,
installing
really.
his stuff. We should get off in an hour with some luck.
hey, 1 hour later.
Then, Mike, we've about tested everything now.
Pilot's
Oh,
console.
we missed it. We
let's
missed all
make
that
this happy. We've
testing.
been long enough as it is.
Charging port.
Coming up 15. 15,000 now.
Interlock on, then.
Fire one. Starboard charging.
Opening roof doors. You can climb straight out, Mike.
It's all a very simple story, this one. Villain shows up, villain goes away, heroes follow villain. To no real great effect, but there's just something about it. I've always greatly enjoyed this episode. And I can't figure out why, because as I said, it opens with padding. I think we're coming up on a bit more stock footage padding here. Is this that shot where Mike goes... Yes, it is. Again, I think that's lifted from the first episode, possibly. But I love that part of it.
Going all right, Professor?
Sure, Jimmy.
Yes, somehow we managed to get along without you. Please vacate the room immediately.
Hunter, Dr. Beaker.
Mike,
Yes, Dr. Beaker?
commence turn to port until the trace on your tube is level with the sight line.
Yeah, again, this must have been sort of mind-blowing to kids at the time. Oh, look at this radar stuff we have now. Wow. That's it.
On the button, Doc.
Satisfactory. Most satisfactory.
He said it.
To Beaker? Is that all there is to it?
Yeah, what do you mean, you little pipsqueak? I invented a whole box and another bigger box, and you say, is that all there is to it? Oh, put you back in your cupboard. Yes, here we go. Here's the second bout of Supercar stock footage flying. Although I can't even be sure that this is all stock footage. I suspect some of this only appears in this episode. Again, more lovely non-Barry Gray stuff. Very dramatic, considering there's not really much happening at this point. Bum, 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 bum.
Well, friend Zarin, And what do you think of that?
He's so proud of himself for having got this box.
Good, Masterspy. You had no trouble.
No, in fact, a fool called Beaker gave me a bonus.
And they are playing it this episode as if this is the very first time that Masterspy and Zarin have any idea of where the Supercar team is. Which, okay, if they were going to show this episode much earlier than the other Masterspy and Zarin ones, that would make sense, but, oh, I love this music. I'd love to get some of this library music released somehow. I don't know where it resides. It must exist somewhere. Again, I suspect it's somewhere in the Edwin Astley archive.
Looks like I'm still on course.
Yay.
Okay, Mike, it's up to you, but don't take any chances.
Oh, I saw the shadow of a puppeteer or puppet cross thingy
The box.
just then.
Box. That is more interesting.
Oh, is it the plans to Supercar that were in the suitcase? That would explain why he's so pleased with himself. He didn't get the real thing, but he got plans. More stock footage. Now, I love me some stock footage of Supercar flying, but I suspect this episode may have been underrunning just a teeny little bit.
Supercar to base, still on course. Looks like I'm still ahead.
Again, it's one thing you get with the Anderson shows, for pretty much all of them, up to Terrorhawks really. When you have the same bits of music recurring over and over and over again, you do get used to them, you do enjoy them, and I find I do with this show that library music. It's just as much a part of the show as the Barry Gray stuff.
Overshoot? Yeah, the overshoot. Yes. Well? They're elementary, my dear fellow. When you are over the target, the trace line becomes a dot. As you...
Yes.
Yeah.
As any child in 2023 would be able to tell you.
What are you going to do when you find Master Spy, Mike?
I can't judge this by contemporary standards. That's not fair. I can't even judge it, as I said, by
How near does that mean?
Thunderbird standards. It's just so early days, and this stuff would have been new and
Wait,
maybe even mind blowing to kids in the 60s.
I'm cutting horizontal.
Oh, that's meant to be a city.
Now stationary.
Nice try. Nice try. It's not quite as bad as that time we saw a city.
Seem to be over the city, okay.
Oh,
Going down slowly to take
it's
a
a
look.
black piece of card with some
You reckon I can land
pinholes
on
in
the
it.
roof if I have to, Professor?
Oh, yeah, it's not quite as bad as that time we saw a similar shot in Space 1999, 15 years later.
700.
But that is quite... I don't know, I suppose on a small screen in the 60s, you might have just about got away with that.
Don't expect me to
Yes, this is where the Supercar team discover Master Spy's base. Is it
on the button.
a skyscraper in New York that he hides out in?
You okay, Mike?
Sure. I think I bent somebody's TV aerial, though.
So, friends are...
Yes, I was expecting to see the full skyscraper rooftop set that would be in later episodes like Supercar Take 1.
Masterspy.
But anywho, Mike's there.
Necessary. I say
He's come strolling into the place.
What are you doing here?
I just love it. I find it so sweet and so comical that our heroes and villains in this show can just stroll in and out of each other's homes and just, hi, what are you doing here? I just came back to get our stuff.
But perhaps you are so clever you can tell why I should let you take back the plans. Just like that.
Sure, this is why. Pilot to console. I'm in room 565 Skelton Building, East 49th Street. I'll soon be
Skelton
at the police
Building.
here.
Yeah, I wonder if they kept that consistent.
Take your cursed plans and the...
Because I remember we see them in a similar room, both in the first season and the second season.
Will be another time, Mr. Mercury.
Anyway, you wouldn't really want Supercar here. The parking space is mighty limited.
I'm just going to leave now, not through the door. I don't know how I'm getting out of the building, and I'm going to assume you won't shoot me in the back, because this isn't that kind of show.
No apparatus which will transmit both homing signals and the human voice.
So, you know that, Professor. I know it. Dr. Beaker knows it. It's too bad Masterspy didn't know it too.
Ah, okay. We ended with almost a bit of old-fashioned sitcom music there. Again, that's as Popkiss said there, I can't even conceive of a device that can act as both a homing device and a microphone. It's like now, you know, we have them. They are called mobile phones. But anywho, that was the tracking of Masterspy, and I think it sums up a lot of why I like this show so much. Despite me saying, you know, this is very old-fashioned, I don't mean that in a negative way. I find it all quite endearing, the way this show is so technical and so mindful of creating a detailed world for this vehicle and the characters and the things that they do. But I also just love how casual the hero and villain side of it all is. It's just, you know, everyone strolling in and out of each other's lives, no big deal. It's beautiful stuff. Love a bit of Supercar, love the tracking of Masterspy.